Hi again. This is Steve Lowry, the editor of the Hilo, and I hope you enjoyed our little play act there where we pretended that two people were sitting next to each other to remind you to socially distance. Okay, let's be cool. Dionah and Shawna Epps, Dionah Dionah, how do you pronounce your last name? Austgen. Work together all day and whatever, and of course, feel very comfortable being around each other. But of course, we always want to be socially distant. So they have now done that. We also have our friend Carole.
Steve is frozen. Yes. We also have Carole Frances Lung, who is an artist and an activist right here in Long Beach and also teaches at Cal State LA. And we are going to be talking about mask making, and especially how we can start off with Dionah and Shawna and how they had to pivot. Before they were running a sort of yoga and also healing and a retail business online, and now they're making masks. So can you go into when you first decided to make that decision, and how has it been so far?
So it's Shawna Leah, but you can call me Shawna through our time together. But I own a business called Shine Your Heart, and I had a retail business on Broadway, and then moved over here next door to Carole to open a healing center, which is another element of my business. I was moving all of the retail online, and so that's just been kind of a secondary part of my business. The healing center being the primary, and so having classes and students and stuff coming in. And when we were put on lockdown, we couldn't obviously do that anymore. And my best friend Dionah got a sewing machine for Christmas, and she's like, "We should." And so we had to really take this seriously, like the things that we needed to actually turn us into a business. And so we do a portion of all the stuff we do for the frontline workers, like police officers, firemen, any nurses, anyone that asks for a mask, we give it to them. I've made them for the Starbucks workers, for the grocery store people. And so it's really just kind of taken on a life of its own. Right now, we're just managing orders, to be honest.
So I'm getting a question from our audience. What do you generally charge for each mask, and how did you go about deciding that pricing?
So good question. Looking at what we felt was typical, first I looked at what the costs were, what it would cost us to produce it. And then what happened was we originally had the prices for the men's and the women's masks are $12. We originally had them set at 10, but then when we ran out of elastic and went to re-up our supply, I went from paying $12 for a spool of elastic to $100. So that is, that's one of the main things that I think that's probably the item that is the most sought after right now for making masks. And there's been just, kind of price gouging and things like that, which is unfortunate. But in order for us to, order that and pay for the shipping, and we ended up having to hire help. And so that's paying for all of that. So the women and the men's masks, after all of the production, it's pretty much eaten up in production and supply cost. So we didn't set out to make a bunch of money to do this. We really just wanted to fill a need. And I had the resources, we had the time, and we had the desire, and that's kind of what it's become, honestly.
So Carole, that was something that we were talking about the other day, was just that crafters and people that maybe already have the supplies and the resources to do this are sort of expected to make masks for free. What's been your experience with that?
It's more that they expect everyone to make them for free and not to think about the economy of it, right? So we were talking the other day with Frau about the privileged class of like modern quilters or hobbyist craftspeople that have all these materials on hand, and they're kind of exchanging their quarantine time for supporting the supply chain, but that doesn't mean everybody has to function that way, and it doesn't mean that everybody has the privilege of sewing for free. It does require a lot of equipment and materials, and they all have a value, and not everyone can just give their materials away. There's also been, I get emails from the California Fashion Association, and a lot of the LA garment industry has pivoted to personal protective wear. So they're now producing masks and the robe cover-ups for people. And that's been really interesting to watch too, because LA is known for its kind of agility, where the global supply chain is not agile, right? It can't just turn and start making something else really quickly, where the manufacturers in Los Angeles can do that.
Why can they do that, Carole?
Because they produce locally and small and can, they're just more agile. They do a variety of garments, typically in juniors with like t-shirts and jeans. And that's kind of what LA is known for. So many of the companies in downtown LA, the guy that used to own American Apparel is now producing personal protective wear, which I think we were talking about the other day. So it's just, and you don't have to have it go across the water,
Right.
It's right here and can easily then get shipped across the country or wherever it needs to go.
Shawna, when I finally got back in, the first thing I heard you mention was price gouging. I'm just curious, have you heard of any examples like what people are charging some people for face masks?
Yeah, well, it's not necessarily the face mask, it's the supplies that you need to make them. So one of the examples I gave was, I could buy a spool of 144 yards of elastic for $12. When that started to run out and I needed to go out on the internet, and it's just, you can't find it, people were charging $100 for the same for the same amount. And so it's like, you have to pay it. I mean, it hurts, and then there's like this struggle, and then there's this like, who's doing that? Why would you do that, especially at a time like this, But that was part of Asia's question about someone had a question about the cost, and that's why we had to like bump our cost up just a little bit, because one really beautiful thing on top of that is I've had to hire out more people to help us cut and more people to help us sew, and so that little bump in our price at the beginning was to pay for the upcharge that we're getting for the supplies, and also for the other people that we're employing to actually help.
How are people finding out about you, Shawna? How do people know to come to you? Are most people coming and picking them up, or are you shipping most of them out?
We're shipping a lot of them out, and Dionah's mom has brought, I don't know if you wanted to speak on that, but her mom has brought us a lot.
My mom will say she doesn't know how to social media, but she is definitely way better, I think, at it than even I am myself. I mean, she put a little blurb on Facebook, and within 2 hours, it was just, I can't even begin to tell you how many orders we have shipped out to Illinois, Chicago, and the Northwest Metro Indiana area, because that's where I grew up and where I came from. So every time I go to put something into a bag and put a label on it, I'm just like, oh my gosh, there goes the trickle down effect. Like, I know all of these people and see them down the line on Facebook, from my mom to my mom's friends, from my aunt to my aunt's friends, and so on and so forth. And it's like, holy moly. And it just keeps going and going. It's crazy. Yeah.
Tell your mom not to worry about it. She's obviously much better at social media than I am.
But we are not having we do have local pickup, and the way we're working it is once we get to their order, we email them and let them know, and then they text me when they're coming. We have their stuff put in these cellophane bags with their name on it and a sticker that seals it closed, and then when they get here, they just come to the door. I know that they're arriving, I just hand it to them. So nobody actually comes into the space, obviously because we're practicing our social distancing. So
That's right.
yes.
So, Carole, you said that you've been making masks for shelters. What has that demand been like?
Well, what the city of Long Beach has in place is, I first called the health department a couple of weeks ago, and then they put me in touch with a shelter, and I also gave to the church down the street that needed some. And last week I did like 100. This week I haven't done as many, and what the city has posted is like a link that you can go to and register what you have, and then then people can look at what you have and they can reach out to you for needs. I haven't, since I started teaching again this week, I haven't had as much time. I was on spring break last week, so that's shifted a little bit. So I haven't made that many this week.
Carole, when Asia and I were over at your place and you made this great video, as I said, that's already up on the high-low, I mentioned to you, I felt silly about this, that I thought a face mask was like a hat. Like you put it on, you went out about your day, you took it off, and the next day you get up, you put it back on. And you said, no, it's like underwear. You wear it and you got to wash it. I'd like you both to talk with this. I'll start with you, Carole. This is really the critical thing beside the wearing is the washing of this thing. What do you suggest? Let's say you can only afford one face mask, maybe one or two. So you're going to have to wash this thing daily. What's a good routine for you to wash something so that it will probably maintain its integrity, but you're also getting it good and clean?
Well, a colleague of mine was talking about her N95 mask. So I'm going to make this recommendation with like any face mask, and that's to spray rubbing alcohol on it and put it in a plastic bag and let it sit.
Okay.
And then the rubbing alcohol is going to kill any bacteria that's in the mask. But don't use bleach. Don't use like Pine Sol or ammonia, like any of those other kind of really horrible smelling products. Otherwise, I think you can just wash them like with your laundry. But if you're doing it every day, you can't really do a load of laundry every day. So the other option is just like hot soapy water and let it drip dry.
Okay. Shawna, Dionah, how about you? Any hints?
Well, so I'm glad that you asked, because we actually made a video last week because we were hearing about people putting their masks in the microwave. This is real. So we made like a public service announcement about not putting your mask in the microwave. So this is an example of a woman's mask. So ours are reversible, they're really fun. They also have this wire that goes over the top that allows you to squish it down over your nose. So obviously putting this in the microwave is not gonna work. Also, the elastic, and ours are like the ones, Carole's masks are badass. They're awesome. I love the style that she's used. And like hers, ours can go in the wash, or you can spritz it with alcohol that will kill the germs on the top of it. What I suggest and what I've been telling people is you can throw it in the wash and then lay it flat to dry, or you can wash it in the sink, do just like a quick wash on it if you know you're gonna, a couple days between laundry, just to do a maintenance wash and spray it with some alcohol and then let it dry, lie it flat to dry. And that will help maintain the life in the elastic piece. And putting it in the dryer will obviously compromise it over time.
So spraying the alcohol, there is no like leftover smell from that once you put it on that's gonna like.
Yeah, it just evaporates.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And alcohol doesn't mean like vodka. Like maybe Everclear would work because Everclear has a high enough proof.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah. And also think about the same way you're expected to wash your hands. So you should scrub your mask with hot soapy water for at least 20 seconds. Like don't just like dip it and say that's enough.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Really scrub it.
And it basically as hot as you can stand it, I imagine, right? The water? Carole, again, when we were over your place, the video's on the high-low right now. You mentioned another thing to us, that we're not trying to be downers here, but the fact is these masks can only do so much. What's about the efficacy rate of these things?
The research that I've done that's based on some tests that a company called Smart Air's been doing with domestic, like household products. I would say that the face masks that are interfaced and like double interfaced and have the cotton are probably doing like 60% of a surgical mask. So they're testing it with a surgical mask against a surgical mask, and the surgical mask is 95 point something percent, and it's about 60%. They also said on this site that multiple layers does not decrease the ability of it to work, but I think Shawna has other information.
But Shawna, it sounded like is battling some type of beast. Oh, there it is.
Oh, there's the beast.
There you go.
This is our studio dog, Toki, little
Oh,
baby. Carole has a little baby too that we love named Stitch.
oh, that's right. And Stitch comes over and visits you every now and then, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Donna, can you piggyback on what Carole was talking about?
Remind me where we were.
Carole?
I said it's about a 60% rate based on a surgical mask being 95%.
Yeah, so here's what's really beautiful about being close to Carole is she's a digger for information, and I benefit from that because when she digs and she learns, she shares it with me, and in that way I can use that to help my product become better and also to educate the people around me. I also do my own research as well, but one of the things that I found on my own was one of the nurses that came to get masks from me also said that any layer, like one layer of cotton adds a certain amount. What was it, Carole? 60% or something, wasn't it? That it adds 60% protection, one layer of cotton.
Well, the 69% is actually a vacuum bag. And I'm assuming since we're interfacing our masks and using the cotton and we're using that non-woven dust cover fabric, that it's a kind of an equivalent to a vacuum bag. So that's why ours is better. The best thing is like a terry cloth, like a hand towel, which I think is closer to 70%, but 100% cotton woven and the 100% jersey is actually less than 60% on its own.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think any level of protection that you offer yourself is worth something. And I know that that's a conversation that's been going back and forth, like how effective are face masks? I mean, the fact that we even have to ask that question boggles my mind. Like, obviously, any barrier of protection that you are creating between you and another person is going to be effective on some level, right?
And
so that's really what we're looking for. There's not enough filtered masks to go around for all of us. So doing something to something preventative is, I think, always going to be helpful.
Well, and really, sorry, Steve.
Sure, go ahead.
Face mask really serves the greater good because if you are sick and you do not know it, it keeps your droplets contained to your person and to your mask. And that benefits all the people that you come in contact with. You know, the Vons over near my parents' house in Huntington Beach, it's mandatory to wear a face mask. And so that just means that people aren't like spewing their droplets all over the vegetables and all over the milk and all over the eggs.
Good point. Good point.
Like, and it also keeps you from touching your face and reminds you not to do that. And so if you're wearing it when you're out in public, you're probably going to come home and then stop touching your face as well.
Plus, it makes you look pretty badass, which, you know, nothing wrong with that. Kind of
I have sort of a technical question from an audience member. Do you guys have recommendations for people wearing glasses and a mask to prevent fogging?
I wear glasses.
That's the
Obviously,
worst.
Carole wears glasses. I don't wear mine all the time. I think having the wire in our masks has definitely helped, but it's funny, every single day it's something different. You know, I put my glasses on, put the mask on, and you have to readjust, obviously. You know, it's been washed and all that fun stuff. It's a learning curve. to wear glasses and a mask. And I wish there was something that we could, I don't know. I wish there was something that we could do that would be a little bit better, but hey, the wire is definitely helping, and
it's
Yeah,
unavoidable.
it's
You really
Yeah,
it
the wire helps like keep it secure to your face, which makes the air not go up. So if you have a mask that has wire and it's fitting really well to your face, it might eliminate it a little bit. The other thing I like to do when I wear my mask is I put my glasses on the outer edge of them. Like when these are just reading glasses or like closed vision glasses. But when I have my sunglasses on, when I'm out walking the dog, I put them out on the other side of the mask so that the air can flow up, because the air just gets trapped behind your glasses.
We're going to go what seems to be over, but we got a late start. So we're going to go a few more minutes because we have other questions. We have a question from someone who delivers food daily. They've been using rubbing alcohol, but now they're asking, do you know where I can find a bottle? The pharmacies I've contacted are all out. Where can someone find rubbing alcohol these days?
Yeah, good question.
Right. The research that I've done looking for rubbing alcohol, you can find some places, like ordering it by the gallon from a science chemistry lab supplier, but it's still like you're not going to get it for at least 2 weeks. And it's about, I think the gallons were like $36. So you can't find it right now. And actually hospitals, a lot of the sanitizing stuff, hospitals have first priority over the public at this point.
Going back to what you guys were talking about the maintenance, about washing in hot water and soap. Does the soap have to be detergent? Can it be dishwashing soap? What can you use to wash the mask?
Yeah, any kind of soap, obviously, if you're washing it, if you're just doing a maintenance wash on your mask,
Right.
just laundry detergent, hand soap, dish soap, whatever's available to you. It's just get it clean, honestly.
If you have an antibacterial soap, I think some of the bar soaps like Dial is an antibacterial soap that's going to work.
So I have a quick question. Carole, we were talking about this also the other day, how masks are just basically going to become a fashion accessory. And I'm wondering, it's already like that in Asia, but have you guys, Shawna, Carole, any of you received any interesting requests for the fabric or the style or the brand, have you, what's going on in that?
Carole, you want to go first?
Well, I get compliments on my masks all the time now.
Yeah, because they're amazing.
So it's people like the patterns, and it kind of gives you something interesting to look at, I guess. And they're a little bit more playful, but I'm not, and I just say thank you. I don't offer anything. Or I tell them to go shop at Shawna's place, but they've had requests. Yeah,
definitely. So we had someone on Saturday ask us if we could put whatever catchphrase is popular on that Hulu show.
The Handmaid's Tale.
The Handmaid's Tale.
Okay.
She wanted something written across it, whatever the popular term is for what.
Right.
Also, we had. I actually have 2 orders right now. I have one for branding for someone's company for the front.
Yeah.
I've had the Longshoremen Union reach out to me about doing a screen print on the side of their masks. A few other ones too. So yeah, we definitely get, when people order, here's the thing too, that I think is important right now. There's just such a huge influx of need for getting masks in people's hands that we actually don't have options on the website for choosing patterns and whatnot. And that is literally because we cannot keep them in our hands long enough to get pictures. They're literally coming in and going out. So we're sewing them and they're going right back out. And so people have been really cool about, hey, just can I get a black one? Can I get a floral one? I want this. And in that way, I think people understand kind of what we're dealing with, and they're like, we don't care, we just want a mask. And I just want to acknowledge the public for that and say how grateful I am for everyone. Just thank you for not being, jerks about how, the influx of orders and stuff because they become mandatory. And that makes me feel like, oh my God, we really are all in this together.
I'm curious, everyone, how much of a chance do you think this has of being an ongoing fashion accessory once the pandemic is over?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, you think so? Yeah.
I think people are definitely getting used to it here. That's for sure.
I think they like the way it looks.
I can imagine, well, I'm actually having my Cal State LA students are working on designing personal protective wear. So we'll see what they come up with, but also I can imagine like, you know, the luxury designer haute couture face mask. I actually think one show already came down a runway or has already produced like a collection that has coordinating face masks with it. But I can see, you know, the Swarovski crystal face mask.
Yeah, we're already planning. We're already planning. After we get over this little hump, we're already planning the next wave of you know, what we're going to do to kind of jazz it up.
Because Americans just can't stop consuming. So
That's
on
right.
any level, they're just going to like consume. And then all that garbage is just going to end up like, I just keep thinking about the garbage too, you know, which medical waste is one thing, like when someone's in a hospital, but all these disposable masks, they just become like disposable fashion. But then do they end up in Africa and people are wearing like secondhand masks? That would be horrible. Like how is the supply chain going to address the end result of all this too? Like, are they going to be burned because they are kind of medical, their personal medical wear? Like, how does that get addressed?
I will say this, if this had been available when I was in high school struggling with a bit of acne, this would have been a godsend. This would have been like the best thing ever.
I kind of, you know, Carole, I think we have a really beautiful opportunity to encourage people to look at the sustainability part of it, which I know that you're a big, that's, you know, a topic close to your heart, but, you know, making sure that we get the message across that these are reusable masks. So you don't need a bunch of them. Buy a couple that you can have one to wear and one to wash. But yeah, I mean, I think your question is valid about like, what do we do when they're done with those? Do we have some kind of recycling program where they bring it to us and then we shred it and turn that into, you know, scraps for something else? Do we burn it because of, you know, the nature of where we're at right now? I don't know what the answer. I would love to be a part of that ongoing conversation, but I think it's important too. Like what we're telling people is, you know, stay away from the disposable ones because you can get something that's reusable. And the whole idea is just to reduce the amount of waste going into the landfills right now.
We're going to wrap this up. I did get something. Someone said they have heard that if you wash your glasses with shaving cream, then let them dry, apparently they won't fog up. Okay. There's going to be all these kinds of solutions. By the way, obviously, Shawna, Dionah, check out their stuff. But also, if you want to check out other stuff, Long Beach Post has its own marketplace that offers different things when it comes to face mask type stuff. You just get it at shop.lbpost.com. You can check that. People have been adding to that, so that's very, very nice, and you can check that out. I want to thank Carole. I want to thank Dionah. I want to thank Shawna for being here. I'm sorry I was a little late, but
Covered.
yeah, I know, right? I probably repeated everything. Anyways, thanks, guys. We appreciate it, and we'll see you down the line. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Bye.